Happy Wednesday. What a busy Wednesday yesterday. We had just storm after storm after storm in some major cities across the U.S. So we're going to break down exactly what we saw on your Tuesday afternoon with all of those storms anywhere from Newcastle to Norman, Kansas City, Wichita, and Oklahoma City. So give us a few minutes and we'll get to some crazy video out of those areas. Southwestern U.S., that is where we're expecting the storms today. So we're talking about the New Mexico area primarily. However, the panhandle of Texas and even portions of southern Colorado in the path for storms today. And then we're looking ahead to severe threat throughout a good portion of the U.S. over the next few days. Those storms come back to Oklahoma on Friday and Saturday, and on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we've just got day after day after day of storm risk here. So let's actually break that down first. So here's your storm risk today. I told you that the primary risk will be out in the southwestern side of the U.S. So we're talking about southern Colorado, New Mexico, panhandle of Texas. We do have a line of storms that we're expecting as we head into the afternoon hours here. One area in particular to look at in this long line of thunderstorms is this area right in St. Louis here. So we're talking about the western side of Missouri and into southern Illinois. Now this area will have a low tornado threat and also a flooding threat in here. By tomorrow, we're going to shift back down into the southern plains. So we're talking about Oklahoma, including Oklahoma City, southern Kansas, and the panhandle of Texas. And then we'll be shifting out to the east on Saturday, most of Oklahoma, and then all the way into Tennessee by Friday and Saturday. We have another risk for storms. There you go, not too far off on Saturday as well. So let's get to your 24-hour storm reports. Let's go back before we go forward. So let's first talk about what we saw yesterday. What we're going to do is we're going to go through each of these cities, and then we're going to show you video of what actually happened at the surface. Let's take a look at Kansas City first. We saw a tornado warning right in the southern portion of the city. Technically, Independence is what we saw. Watch these tornado warnings. There you go. We're going to play this one more time, just a little bit slower here. And Independence, that is where we saw that confirmed tornado from the National Weather Service. Now, they have not given it a rating yet, but they did say that they would be out today taking a look at that potential tornado. What we do know is we had an overturned semi on the highway yesterday and such a photogenic storm with some straight line winds in Kansas City. Now let's head down to Oklahoma City. We're going to start with Midwest City here. That was one of our first tornado warnings in Oklahoma. A photogenic storm to say the least. And we got so many pictures of this storm because this was rush hour. People were hitting the roads. People were saying, oh no, these clouds look very, very suspicious, very eerie yesterday. And that was just the beginning, because shortly after that, we saw several other tornado warnings across the city. And again, look at the time. It's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock rush hour. People are hitting the roads. It was a madhouse of just pouring rain yesterday. But the most impressive area yesterday was down in Norman, where we did get a confirmed tornado, technically out in Newcastle. So this is just to the west of Norman. And look at this tornado. Actually, look at the power flash right there. Do you see that flash at the bottom of your screen? So we were actually getting power flashes indicating that this was on the ground yesterday, just to the west of Norman, out in Newcastle, Oklahoma. Again, happening during rush hour. So a lot of people on the roads yesterday. Wow. Now let's go up to Wichita, because during all of this time, while this mess was happening in Oklahoma, Kansas actually had some extreme flooding issues. These are flooding rescues that are going on in Kansas. They've got the boat out there rescuing people from their cars. This is a pretty common scene yesterday out in Wichita. They actually on the highway had heavy rain, eyes on the road, be alert, heavy rain, flooding is possible. So they were prepared for this. They were trying to warn drivers of this, but many, as you'll see from some of these pictures, did not get out of the way in time. You guys kind of know the drill here. Turn around, don't drown. But when this does, push come to shove, when something like this happens, we are so grateful for these water rescues here. And you can see that they are helping this guy out who was on top of his car yesterday. What a scary situation. We've got a few more pictures here coming up, so give it just a minute. Watch this video. And we are grateful that he was getting some help there. But again, this is a pretty common scene yesterday. Wow, look at their driveway. They couldn't even get out of their driveway because of all of the flooding out there. This is someone's deck that had all of this flooding out in Wichita yesterday. So we appreciate your pictures. Thank you for sending those in after a very busy weather day. Alrighty, let's now move on to the forecast for today. That was just yesterday. That was just a Tuesday. What are we expecting for today? So we've got over 1,200 miles and almost 3.3 million people in the risk for storms today. Let's talk about that risk. We're pretty quiet across Dallas right now. Pretty quiet out to the west as well. Actually, let me just show you some of those areas that could get hit today. Go out to the panhandle of Texas. Let's go out to New Mexico. We've got one severe thunderstorm warning right now. This severe thunderstorm warning is pretty far off to the west of Albuquerque, Fence Lake area. You could see up to $half size hail in this area and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So this will be the area of concern today. You do have a front that's moving through a good portion of the Midwest all the way down to the southern plains. This area, high winds and a low tornado threat. But we'll get into those hazards for you here in just a few minutes. Let's get a check of temperatures first. A little bit of rain out in Florida. Got a rainy start to your day. Clear as day out in the New England area. You've got rain going on in St. Louis right now, and we've got a few showers up in the northern plains. Current temperatures are in the 60s. It's a lot colder in some of these areas today compared to yesterday. Let's break down the storm hazard for today, and then we'll get into that storm hazard for tomorrow. Again, I told you that line of storms that stretches from the Midwest down into the southern plains. This area, low threat for hail. I bet if we see anything, it'll be smaller than the size of a quarter, anywhere from the Midwest all the way down to Texas. Where is that hail threat today? Let's actually zoom in there. Zoom in to New Mexico and Texas. There we go. Here we go out in New Mexico today. We are expecting that hail threat to be right around Albuquerque into the east side of New Mexico and into the southern side of Colorado. And you'll see your official hail forecast here in just a few minutes. But what are we expecting for the max hail size today? I brought it down to hen egg sized hail. We really just the past few days have seen some smaller hailstones than what we saw last week or maybe even the week before. What we like to say here in really just the meteorology community is the trend is your friend. You know, what happens one day could often indicate what could happen the following days. We haven't seen those large hailstones. We've seen a lot of hail, but we haven't seen those large hailstones. So I'm keeping the hailstone size smaller for today, but still you could get up to hen egg, that's the 2-inch size hail, anywhere from Albuquerque, maybe even into the eastern side of New Mexico. I've kept these risks pretty low, especially out near Midland, Amarillo, and Pueblo. And why is that? Because I think that this will be a very big rain event. That flooding risk is absolutely possible for today, and a wind event as well. What we're going to be watching for is not only that wind risk for today, so we're including now East Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, St. Louis, all the way up into the Midwest in the wind risk for today, but that hail risk, I think that you guys are in the clear. And then, of course, we could see some high winds out in New Mexico as well today. Maybe even the western side of Texas as well. What about that tornado risk? There's 2 areas that I want you to be watching for the tornado risk today. That is out in New Mexico and then out near St. Louis. So let's fast forward here. There you go to your tornado risk. Again, I talked about Albuquerque just being on the very edge of that tornado risk today. You're going to see a line of storms track off to the east and into the panhandle of Texas later on tonight. That tornado risk will last all the way until we get to Amarillo and Lubbock and then start to die out. Your second area for potential isolated tornado today is anywhere from St. Louis to Indianapolis. We saw this yesterday where we had those high winds yesterday, straight line winds, as well as a tornado threat. So we're once again watching for that today as well. There's Albuquerque all the way out to Amarillo. Alrighty, let's take a look at your future radar here. So your future radar shows us that storms, while they are firing right now, right along the state line on the western side of New Mexico, we will expect to see increased storm coverage later on this afternoon and evening. So we're talking about between about 3 and 5 o'clock this afternoon is whenever we're going to see that storm coverage increase pretty significantly. Slowly, this will continue to track to the east right along I-40. Now, we've got some isolated storms up in southern Colorado today. We're also going to see a few isolated storms down in places like Midland, Texas. But really, the bulk of that storm coverage will be anywhere from the central to eastern side of New Mexico all the way into the Texas Panhandle. So watch these storms come into Lubbock and Amarillo. As we head into the late night hours tonight, it's dark by this point. Maybe you've got a lot of lightning, a lot of thunder. You're also going to have that flooding threat here. We're expecting several inches of rain in this area over the next 4 days. You will have a flooding threat in Texas, if not now, over the next few days. Now let's go off to the Midwest, down to Missouri, and into northern Arkansas. And then we'll go down into Texas after that. What we're watching for is storms have already fired, right? You're already getting rain in this area. As this continues to track to the east, we will see storms intensify as we head into the afternoon and evening hours. That severe risk will go down as we head into the late evening into the overnight hours. So again, late afternoon, early evening, that'll be the peak for storms today. Storms are expected to be widespread. You're also expecting a flooding threat in this area as well. So we're talking about western Missouri, southern Illinois for some of the biggest threats for severe weather today. Going down into Texas, Arkansas into Texas right now. We can see storms near Houston, but I do think that you're right on the edge of that storm risk today. Texarkana expecting storms into this afternoon and evening as well. And then once again, as storms continue to progress to the east, right around or shortly after dinner time, that severe risk will go down. Alrighty, moving on to what we can see tomorrow, because we have another risk for storms tomorrow. This goes anywhere from Wichita all the way out to Denver, Colorado, down into Oklahoma City, and out to the western side of Texas. Even some of our Midwestern and New England states could get some storms tomorrow. But I do really think that the big storm risk will be on the western side of Oklahoma and panhandle of Texas. That's where we'll be watching for that storm risk tomorrow. So we'll give you more information on that storm risk tomorrow, but we don't stop there. We have another chance for storms on Friday, Saturday, and probably Sunday as well. Why? We are just stuck in this stormy pattern here over and over and over. We are going to see storms in this area. We've got a little trough going through. We call this a shortwave trough, but we are expecting some changes to happen as we head into Sunday, the end of the weekend. We could see more Midwest action after that. And then as we head into next week, we'll probably stay in this stormy pattern for someone in the U.S. Like, it's still severe weather season. So we are still watching for storms just day after day after day. Alrighty, moving on to your 24-hour temperature change here. This is one of my favorite graphics. It's warmer up in Kansas and Nebraska. Minnesota enjoying those warmer temperatures today than what they saw yesterday, but it's colder down in Oklahoma City. I mean, it's one of those days that we question, do we even have to run the AC? I mean, it is pretty chilly down here. It's very comfortable to get outside, especially if you don't like that summertime heat. Alrighty, and that is your forecast today. I didn't even check questions today. Do we have any significant questions to chat about? Let's see, we've got one on here. Clear skies in Eastern Washington. Thanks for joining us today from Eastern Washington. Some joining us from Arlington. We appreciate you hopping on here as well. And I think those are the biggest questions that we've had. Well, thanks for joining us today. I hope that you guys enjoyed our storm recap from yesterday. We're hoping that everyone is safe from those storms yesterday. And if you can safely take pictures and you're posting them on social media, tag us in those pictures. We love to see your storm pictures and would love to share them on here as well. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And give us a call if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. You can also head over to our website for more information, hailtrace.com. All right, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. We'll see you back here for your forecast, same time, same place tomorrow.